Yes, yes, people. Hello and welcome to the Trigga Fingaz podcast. I'm your host, Filthy Philp, and I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that tuned into last month's episode with the drum and bass coach. Ross, he's a highly inspirational guy and he's offering an amazing service. So if you haven't checked that podcast out yet, click the link in the description and you can watch last month's episode. But this month, I am joined by a very special guest. She is one of Brisbane's biggest DJs in the drum and bass scene right now. If you're from the Brisbane area, you've probably heard her or seen her multiple times. But if you haven't, let's welcome DJ Yasmin. What's going on, Yasmin?
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me.
No worries, our absolute pleasure. Now you've only been in the scene for a hot minute, man, like a couple years. But you've gone on to share stages with, some of the biggest acts in the world. But before we get to sort of where you're at now, I just want to know, where did your love for drum and bass begin?
So I've always loved music. So literally when I was in my mum's stomach, she tells me stories of when I was a baby before I was even born. Like she would always listen to music and my dad would as well. My dad was a DJ back in his time. And then when I was born, I was such a crying baby. And the only two times that I would stop crying is when I was with my mum or listening to music. So she always knew that like music was going to be big in my life, which is so cool to look back on now. But yeah, so I've always had a thing for music, and then I got into drum and bass purely just randomly. And I started listening to it, and I was like, this is so cool. Like, this genre is so unheard of, I guess, at the time. And none of my friends really listened to drum and bass. So I'd always like show them songs and they'd be like, this is crazy. And I'm like, no, this is fire. Like, I love this. And yeah, and since then, that was like probably 7 years ago, something like that. But yeah, since then I've literally been in love with drum and bass, and it's like my top genre that I listen to. All my playlists are pretty much drum and bass. I think I've only got one that's not drum and bass, and that's British rap. But yeah, drum
Yeah.
and bass is just my life at this point.
Is there a specific moment for you or a particular song that you just heard and were like, wow, what is this?
I think me and my sister both share this song, but it's Rudimental, Waiting for You, I think it's called. Um, Waiting All Night. That's the one.
It's
Waiting
the
All
one,
Night,
it's a wicked
Rudimental.
tune.
Yeah. I love that song. And like when I first listened to that song, I didn't know that it was drum and bass. And I forgot about it for years and years and years. And just recently, my sister's actually been playing it. And my most recent gig, I supported Mackie G. And I begged my sister to come. I was like, please, you have to come. And she's not like a night owl at all. But she came along and I said, I've got a little surprise in my set for you. And she's like, all right, whatever, this is whatever it is. It's gonna be some kind of drum and bass song. But I played that song, and yeah, it was just so good to have that like shared moment on stage, because we've shared like the love for this song for so many years. And
Yeah.
then to have it like full circle moment, it was just so good. But yeah, that's probably my one of my top songs. I can't pick one specific one because I do have like multiple favorites, but that would be up there.
Yeah, I feel like there's always that kind of moment when you first discover it and you're just like, wow, like this is
Yeah.
incredible. And I feel like in Australia, it's not as, I mean, it definitely is now, but probably when you sort of discovered drum and bass music, it wasn't as prominent as it is now, you know? So you really have to kind of do a deep dive to kind of find it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, Rudimental, that's a classic tune, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you still
It's
hear
so
people
such
playing
a
that kind of
good.
music today. Right,
Yeah.
so you discover drum and bass sort of 7 or 8 years ago, Rudimental being one of your favorite tunes.
Yeah.
Um, so that leads you up to sort of the beginning of your DJ career. So how did that sort of happen?
Just by chance, really. I always knew that music would be cool to get into, but I never really knew how. And obviously, seeing my dad when I was growing up be so in love with music, I knew that I had to do something music related. And obviously, it's very different now compared to when he was a DJ. But a couple of my friends at the time said I should do the competition Your Shot, and I was like, nah, don't know about it. And then I just came to a point where I was like, why not? Like, it'll just be a bit of fun. Like, I'll just give it a go. So, gave it a go, did the 6 weeks of training. Yeah, just learned how to DJ, taught myself how to double and pick through tunes and see what sounded well with another song. And yeah, ended up winning the competition, which I had no intention to or didn't expect it at all. But yeah, it's probably one of the best things that happened in my life. And yeah, I'm very, very grateful for every moment that I've had since starting DJing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
amazing. Now, for those that don't know, me and Yasmin actually share something in common, and we actually
yeah.
both won your shot in the same year. I was in as a wild card because I was a more experienced DJ, but Yasmin went in completely cold. And basically how your shot works is it's like a 6 week crash course in DJing. And at the end of it, you perform in front of just hundreds of people. And I think there's a couple of hundred contestants and there's only one winner. So to come through that and actually win it is an amazing achievement. How did you find the learning process? Did you pick it up pretty quickly, or was there anything that you struggled with, or
Um, Not so much struggled with. I feel like it all came quite not easy, but I flowed with it quite well because I've always been able to hear what works and what doesn't work. So I felt in that way it was quite enjoyable to just like keep learning different things about the music that I was playing. But obviously, learning how to mix was quite challenging. And I did find that it's different genre to genre. So, a lot of people in my class and my trainer were mixing like house music, dance music, there was a bit of techno, I think. Totally different genres, and no one was doing drum and bass. But I knew that drum and bass is what I wanted to do, so I was sticking to that. So yeah, things like learning how to double, learning how to chop that like that you don't do in any other genre, kind of thing.
yeah?
Um, or not so much anyway. That was quite challenging to learn. I do remember at one of the meetings, somebody said to me, "Are you going to double in your set?" And I was like, "What's that?" So I had no idea what they were talking about, and I was like, maybe. Literally didn't even know what doubling meant. So I went back that night and I YouTubed what is doubling in drum and bass, and I found out that means playing two songs at the same time that drop at the same time as each other and sound good and blend well together.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's double. So yeah, I just found a couple of songs that worked well together and I just tried it and I put it in my Your Shot set and I had a lot of positive feedback from it when I did my performance. So I'm very grateful that that person said to me, "You're gonna double," and opened up my eyes.
Yeah. There's something quite satisfying about just sort of coming across a double that you've never heard before. And quite
Yeah,
often when I do it, I'm not that much of a doubler. Like I'll pepper a few in my sets, but I'm not headaches or anyone like that where I'm like smashing a whole hour of them. But when you
yeah,
find two tracks that just work so perfectly together, it's so satisfying, right?
yeah. It's something unmatched. It's so beautiful. I love it. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you win your shot in, was it 2022?
Yeah, 2022.
Okay, now talk us through what happens after that. So you win your shot in 2022. Where
Mhm.
did your career go after that?
It went crazy. Everything was just changed. My whole life was changed. I went from teaching myself how to DJ to supporting some of my favorite DJs in drum and bass and sharing the stage with some amazing names. It was crazy. I didn't know that that would happen. Um, and the whole time that it was happening, I was like, is this real? Am I dreaming? Like I didn't know that like one day I'd be sharing the stage with Mackie Chi, who is one of the first drum and bass DJs that I ever heard of, like when I first started getting into drum and bass. So yeah, it was quite a rapid journey, but I loved every second and I'm so, so grateful. I never stop saying that I'm grateful. That's the thing that I just keep saying. I am really, truly grateful of everything. But yeah, I've supported a lot of big names. And yeah, I was one of the only locals on the lineup for one of the No One But Us shows as well.
Yeah.
And when I got that news, I was like, I literally cried because I was like, there's no way, like they chose me.
Yeah.
So yeah, and every time I get asked to support like one of the DJs that I listen to, I'm like, really? I'm like, oh my God. It's still like hard for me to believe, but yeah, I love it. And I just love showing people the music that I love. And I've always been like that, even at house parties and stuff. I'm always like, can I play a song? Like, I want to show you guys what song that I found, you know? And now
Yeah.
I get to do it to a crowd of people on a stage. Like, it's crazy. I never would have thought that it would have happened. But I'm so, so, so happy and so grateful for it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's so important to be grateful in this game, especially when you're everything's moving so fast. It's really important to slow down at times and just reflect on, wow, I'm supporting all these amazing people and my dreams are literally coming true. And
Yeah.
DJing is it's a great way to express your sound. Like you're
Yeah.
literally performing the tunes that resonate with you and showing them to a crowd of people. And that's so beautiful. Um, Obviously winning your shot myself too, I can totally sort of resonate with what you said. Like my career just accelerated as well. Like people that I was reaching out to for months to try and get bookings from, literally the following week, they were reaching out to me, asking me to be like to play for them and stuff like that. And it is crazy what your shot can do to your career. And it's really an amazing competition. And I remember being on stage that night and hearing my name as the winner. It was one of the best moments of my life. It was really fantastic. And if anybody's watching this and you're considering getting involved in your shot, this is coming from two winners here. We highly recommend it. It's the best experience you'll ever have. You'll learn, valuable skills. You'll meet friends for life, and it can open up a whole new career to be a DJ. And if you end up winning, you get to fly to a big festival around the world. So tell us a little bit about where you ended up going.
I think you already know the answer to that question.
I do.
Myself and Liam shared the chance to DJ at an amazing festival in Bali. So yeah, we got sent both to the same festival, so that was really fun, and it was great to experience it with Liam. I brought my sister as well, and yeah, it was just unreal. The festival was called Dream Machine. And yeah, it was just like a holiday, but also like the opportunity to perform in front of people overseas. Like it's just unreal. And I performed on a beach, which I never thought that I would ever play on a beach, but the stage was done up so beautifully and it was amazing. And then Liam and I did a back to back for the closing set of the festival. I did have barley belly at the time, so that was really
I
hard.
didn't think you was gonna make
But
it, but you did, thankfully.
I know I was deadly sick. I was in bed for like the 2 days leading up to the set, and I was messaging Liam. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this, but I managed to do it, and I'm so grateful that I did it. And I'm thankful that you were there as well to, yeah, share
Yeah,
that moment with
I
me.
was preparing for, I think it was like a 2 hour set, right? So I was preparing, okay, I might have to play by myself for 2 hours, but then hopefully she will make it. And literally at the last hour, she showed up and yeah,
Yeah,
we smashed it out of the park, man. It was a really fun set. And just to see Indonesian people dancing too to the stuff we were playing, that was really, really cool. Like I love
yeah,
spreading drum and bass just around the world. And I
yeah.
find that a lot of people don't actually know that they like it until they hear it, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like it's such an underrated genre. Like even there's one moment that I remember from Dream Machine is when we were doing the sound checks for my performance on the beach, and there was a few of the guys there setting up the stage, and I played my first song, and they started dancing, and they're like drum and bass, and I'm like drum and bass, and it was just so good because I was like, my people, this is so good. I love it. It's the
Yeah.
best feeling.
Yeah, it's the best feeling in the world and long may it continue. So that was 2022, you win, you go to Dream Machine in Bali, and you're now sort of getting booked pretty regularly in Brisbane in Australia. Do you feel nerves or anything like that? Obviously, I know going into your shot, it was the most nervous I'd ever been before a set, and I was 7 years into my career, and nothing made me more nervous than that your shot set. I'm guessing you felt the same way, right?
I definitely did. I don't remember anything from my first performance. I completely blacked out, and I didn't think that I would be like that because I've been a dancer my whole life and I was used to being on stage, being in front of people. But I think it was just the fact that I was doing something completely new and I really wanted to do my best. I think that's what always gets me. I always want to do my best. And yeah, I got off the stage on my first performance and my sister came up to me and she's like, "You smashed it." And I was like, wait, did I just perform? Like I didn't even, yeah, I couldn't remember anything. So now the memories I have from that performance are just from the videos that I've seen. So I
Yeah.
definitely do get nervous and I still do to this day. If you know me, you kind of already know, but probably about an hour before my set, I'll go completely silent. I'm like thinking about everything that could happen. I'm thinking about the doubles that I've got in my set. I'm thinking about my intro. I'm thinking about how I'm going to show these people the best set that I could possibly do. So I think most of my anxiety, I guess you could call it, comes from myself and just wanting to be the best that I can be. So yeah, I definitely still get nervous to this day.
Yeah, I think nerves
Yeah.
are totally natural, and it's always about channeling them in the right way. Have you ever had any moments where sort of the anxiety has got too much and you're like, fuck, I don't think I can do this?
Yeah, a lot of the times, especially when they're bigger performances, I do have like a little pre-performance meltdown, I guess you could call it, where I do get in my head too much. And I think I was battling with that a lot at one point, and I kind of said to myself, I need to figure this out because this is not healthy. Like I'm being way too hard on myself before these performances. I'm getting in my head, and that's probably affecting my performance in a negative way, even though the whole reason that I'm anxious about it is because I want to do the best. But in hindsight, I'm getting in my own way. So it was a big learning curve for me to kind of channel my energy in a different way. So I do try a lot now to, instead of being anxious, instead of thinking about the negative things that can happen, I try to channel it into being excited and thinking of what I'm going to do, thinking of how I'm going to kill it, essentially,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm kind of, yeah, always trying to be excited over nervous.
Yeah.
So it's a hard one to conquer, definitely, but I think it's easier on yourself and your mental health to be excited rather than thinking negative and being nervous for something that in reality you're doing for fun.
Yeah.
So
But it's
that's
really
yeah.
cool that you've got a ritual. I think we all kind of have like a preset ritual that we sort of go through that, kind of grounds us and,
Yeah.
helps us channel that anxiety into excitement. And to be honest, I think that feeling nervous or anxious is kind of a good sign because it shows that you care and it shows how much this set means to you and how much your career means to you, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I
Yeah,
definitely agree. But sometimes you can be your own worst enemy. So it's finding that
absolutely.
balance, I think. And I
Yeah.
learned that the hard way because I was getting in my own way. But yeah, definitely advice to anyone listening. If you get nervous, channel it to excitement instead. That's probably my biggest piece of advice for anyone performing or being a DJ. Yeah, that's one of the things that I found that helped me the most.
Now, Yasmin,
Yeah.
as obviously drum and bass and even just the music industry as a whole it's a very sort of male dominated industry. Now, being a female in the industry, how's your experience been? Have you experienced any challenges when it comes to that kind of thing? Or do you feel like it's helped perhaps? Or t tell us a little bit more about your experience.
Yeah, I definitely do think the DJ scene as a whole is quite male dominated, but especially drum and bass. I have had my fair share of struggles with it in the past. I've had people say to me, "You only get gigs because you're a girl," or "You're only on the lineup because you're a female and you're hot." Um, it's a male dominated industry. You've got more chance of being on the lineup than I have. I think that was really hard and it did get me in my head a bit at the start, but yeah, it is what it is. And the the more that you can support females in the scene, the better. So obviously I always try to support other girls because I know how hard it is. And um, I don't think it's ever going to get better, but you've just kind of got to adapt to it. There's only a few male DJs in the scene that find the difference in genders an issue. So it is definitely the minority. But personally, I feel like drum and bass is for everyone, and it shouldn't matter if you're a female, male. It's a community, and yeah, I feel like it is definitely harder being a female in the scene, but you can't focus on that. You can't let it get you down. So yeah.
Yeah,
And
I guess a big takeaway from what you just said was that you don't feel like it's going to get any better. Why do you think that is?
um I just feel that it's been male dominated for so long, and there's still event runners that have like an all male lineup and see no issues with it. But in reality, there's so many talented female DJs that deserve to be on a lineup with males as well. I think sometimes there's just a lack of females where there is definitely opportunity for them to be on the same lineup as these talented males as well. I feel like there's a lot of imbalance, but yeah, I don't agree with it. But yeah, I do hope it gets better, but it's still pretty prominent at this stage.
Yeah,
So
I totally agree with that. And, it's just a really sad state of affairs, really. Um,
yeah,
Obviously, at Trigga Fingers, we try to be as inclusive as possible. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter your gender, your ethnicity, whatever it is. We were just looking for talent, and
Yeah.
thankfully in Brisbane, especially, there's a lot of females that are coming through now that have got some really amazing talent, and it's really good to see that a lot of people like yourself are getting the recognition that you deserve.
Yeah, yeah. And I do think that the girls have to support the girls because there's very few of us, but
Yeah,
hopefully more people will join, like learn how to DJ. And it's such, especially drum and bass, is such a supportive team of people. Like you have your friends that can help you. And especially in Brisbane, there's a lot of DJs that come together and we bounce ideas off each other. We help, like we're always there to help others. So if you're listening and you're thinking that you want to become a DJ, we definitely need more girls in the scene.
absolutely. And do you think the fact that, there is this sort of inequality, do you think that's a reason also why girls are maybe afraid to maybe just take the risk and start?
Yeah, I do. I think it's so daunting being a female wanting to get into DJing, let alone drum and bass, because you see so many males mixing this genre and yeah, not as many females. And then it's quite sad on online as well, because a lot of the females trying their best to be a drum and bass DJ, they do get like negative comments from other males. And it's just, yeah, it's just the fact that you do get sexualized and you do get comments that are nothing to do with your DJing or your mixing or your song selection. And I think that's just a problem in this generation, in this world that we face as females. It is quite hard, let alone when you're trying to mix something that is so like male dominated. It's definitely, definitely daunting. But if you want it, you never know. Yeah, unless you don't try. So
Yeah, I
definitely.
definitely admire you and sort of other females in the scene, because yeah, you must be receiving shit all the time. And I know how much a negative comment affects me personally over all of you could have 100 positive things, and if there's one negative thing in there, that's where your head's going. For me
Yeah, and
anyway. And
you can try and ignore it, but when as soon as you see it, like you've seen it, you can't undo that, and then you think about it, and it does affect you. It's just part of being human.
Music producers, listen up. This one is for you. Now, Trigga Fingaz Records is open for business, and we are on the lookout for brand new music to sign to our label. Now, we're accepting all styles of music, but please, guys, just keep it to jungle and drum and bass only. Now, whether you're a seasoned veteran in the game or you're just breaking in, we want to hear from you. Now, the best way to send your music, there is two ways. You can either go to our website, triggafingaz.com, and there is a page on there for you to upload your demos, or you can drop us an email at demos@triggafingaz.com. We look forward to hearing what you've been cooking up. Big up, guys.
so Yasmin, tell me about the creative process that goes into putting a set together.
Ooh, I feel like it's different for everyone, but I do like to spend a lot of time on preparing sets. Obviously following off what I said about always doing my best, I think it definitely helps me to prepare a set. Just so I'm not like stressed on stage. Sometimes I don't prepare enough, so I do have to like freestyle it, and sometimes I do just do gigs freestyle, but I do prefer to prep a set. So it usually takes me probably 2 to 3 days of like maybe 4 to 5 hours each day, just preparing songs, like downloading new music, finding fresh blends, making sure everything flows good, finding an intro tune, because I do love a good intro tune. I feel like that just captivates everyone right at the start. So it's super important to me. But yeah, I do put a lot of prep into it, but that's just personal preference, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people maybe don't realize that, that hour that they see you on stage, there's so
Yeah.
many hours and days that go into putting that 1 hour together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more than just the time that you spend on stage. There's so much work that goes in sort of behind
Yeah.
the scenes.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, even like on top of preparing the set, I think like always listening to music, like finding fresh songs and like cool tunes that people haven't heard of yet. Like I think Spotify is real good, but I think SoundCloud is where a lot of underrated artists are and producers. I think it's yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can find on there, but that takes hours and hours and days just to feed through that music and find things that you like.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. Now, one thing I noticed recently in Brisbane was, the state of the scene. The crowds seem to be, dwindling a little bit. What do you think's causing that? And how do you think, what do you think we can do to make drum and bass a bit more prominent and get those crowds coming back through the doors again? Because I've noticed that a lot of big artists, they're coming through and you see their tour posters, they'll play every major city but Brisbane, except for, your chasing statuses, your sort of bigger acts. What do you think's causing that?
Well, I have noticed that as well, and it is really sad. And obviously, it sucks because we, especially the locals in the scene, work so hard to kind of keep Brisbane loving the drum and bass. But I think it makes it hard when you've got like nightclubs and like different places that are trying to include drum and bass, but then they give up on it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nightclubs in Brisbane that have tried to put a drum and bass night on each week, and it was doing really well. And like the people that don't usually listen to drum and bass ended up like discovering it for the first time, and the crowds were really enjoying it. But I just don't think it brings enough people in compared to commercial music. And I think yeah, it is all about bringing in more people for these clubs. So I think that kind of lets us down a bit. But yeah, I think just people showing up. I think there's a lot of people that love drum and bass in Brisbane, but they're just not coming to all of these events that are put on. I think it it's sad to see because like there's so many talented international DJs coming over, and then they have to perform to like a dead crowd, and it's literally just the people in the drum and bass scene that are there to see them. So I think it is hard because obviously you can't force people to come out. And they're only going to come out when they want to come out and see the people that they want to see. But it does affect us like in the long run when the bigger companies, event runners, are not choosing Brisbane anymore. I think it's so sad to see. And yeah, a lot of us kind of are on the same page, where we want Brisbane to be given like that chance and still have the same acts come to us as Melbourne, Sydney, and Perth. But yeah, I think it's just not happening lately. And yeah, I can't put my finger on exactly what it is, but I think it's just the people not showing up that once did. That's the only thing I can really think of.
Yeah, it's really hard to sort of figure out what it is about Brisbane that, you know, why aren't the crowds coming anymore? Like, obviously, being a former promoter there, um, one of the things that we noticed was the venues themselves were making it increasingly difficult for promoters to go in there and run a show. They would put these extortionately high minimum bar spends, which puts you under pressure, because you've got no guarantee of who's going to turn up, who's going to drink, who's going to spend money in the bars. Um,
Mhm.
and then because of these low numbers, you then have to push your ticket prices up to cover the costs of whoever it is you've got coming over. And that might be
Yeah,
driving people away as well, you know. So it's hard for the promoter to say, well, I could charge a little bit less on the tickets, but then if the same numbers come, then the loss is even bigger. So, you know, promoters are in a really difficult spot in Brisbane right now where they have to charge a certain amount to make sure they're breaking even or at least not losing that much money. Because, you know, we're not charities and we are, I mean, especially for us, the motive wasn't money. It was to put Brisbane on the map as a drum and bass city and give people the chance to perform. And, you know, even just seeing people like yourself on the same flyer as a big DJ, you know, all it takes is for that international to share the flyer and it gets more eyes on the DJs in Brisbane, which is why I don't understand why some promoters choose not to put the local talent on the flyers. I find that really bizarre, you know. It's really
yeah,
important that, you know, we are championing the hard work that local DJs are putting into the scene because, you know, chasing status, they were probably paying small venues at one stage and all the big DJs, they all started somewhere, you know. So it's
yeah,
important that we, from a grassroots level, you know, trying to promote from the bottom up. And I get it. Obviously, the cost of living's playing into it as well. You know, these venues they need to earn money, and if drum and bass isn't bringing crowds, then they're going to revert back to what they know works, and that is, you know, the commercial music. And it's
yeah,
really sad to be honest. Um,
yeah.
so that leads me to my next question. So you're part of a collective called B&E DNB. What's the vision behind that, and what is it you guys are trying to sort of achieve?
I think it's kind of the same thing that you guys were doing with Trigga Fingers, just trying to keep Brisbane on the map in the way of drum and bass. I think it's super important to highlight everything going on. And we do try to support the events happening in Brisbane as well, because obviously we want to share it to people that may not have heard about it. So if something's happening, we always try to promote it as much as we can, and we don't get paid for that. It's all on just because we want Brisbane to still be relevant. So it's we've all shared the same love for drum and bass. Myself, Ryan, John, and Kana. Um, and yeah, we kind of came together just to push Brisbane a bit more. But yeah, in saying that, we do try to support the locals as well, the local talent. So we do have a mixed series, which is purely locals in Brisbane. And yeah, it's a 30-minute mix that we just try and post and push that talent out to more people. Because it is a lot of hard work that locals have to do to get their name out there. So as much as like we can help as B&E DNB, I think it's yeah, it does help a lot. And in regards to like the lineups and things, I think a lot of event companies in Brisbane don't don't show the locals on the poster. They don't announce the locals until, you know, a week before the event, which they've announced the headliner months before. I think there's definitely that gap between the headliners and the locals, which we don't personally agree with. And it does make it hard for the locals. So yeah, I think people like Liquid Steel Sessions, they're on the same kind of wavelength, and they're trying to push the headliners as well as the locals at the same time, so everyone's announced as that equal um, level, and that's pushed right from the start. And I think that's just such a better way to support Brisbane as a whole. So that people see the local lineup as well as the headliner, and they're like, okay, I might not like the headliner, but I love this person and the way that they mix, or that's my friend, so I want to go support them, kind of thing. I think that idea of pushing the whole event and all of the talent at the same time would increase the amount of people coming to their events. But that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And, shout out to Liquid Steel because they sort of sit with the same ethos that we did as well. We really just wanted to push all of the local talent as well as the internationals we were bringing through, and we want people to look at a flyer and see, oh, Yasmin's playing tonight. I'm excited to see what new music she's going to bring, or CD's playing tonight, or whoever it is. It's important that you have a lineup that everybody's excited to see and you push them all equally. Like a lot of
Yeah,
events I would go into, I would see the place kind of empty up until the headliner. The minute the headliner stepped off stage, the place was empty again. And it's so sad to
yeah,
see that, going back to what you said about preparing a set, the amount of hours and time and money to buy the music as well, to
yeah,
put that set together and watching the dance floor empty. And it's no fault of their own. It's just they've only pushed the headliner, so that's why these things are happening. So
yeah,
they've all left, and then you're playing to half a crowd that was literally there 20 minutes ago, and it can be quite demoralizing. Um,
yeah,
a little story actually something that happened to us at the start of, I won't say when it was actually, just out of respect of who we'd booked, but we brought in a very big reputable name who's been in the scene for years. And we brought him over to Australia and we barely sold any tickets. Like it was the one event that we lost loads of money on. Um, so I said to Nico, look, this event, we've already lost the money on it. Let's just try and get people in here. So we were at Prohibition. So Prohibition has two rooms. So we were in like the smaller side room, and then you've got a bigger space. So the bigger space was free entry. It's just people coming in to have some drinks and, listen to the commercial stuff. So we went
yeah,
in there and we handed out wristbands to every single person in there. And we just said, look, there's an international DJ next door, one of the biggest in the game. He's been in the scene since the 90s. Just give him a
yeah,
chance. Just check it out, see if you like it.
yeah,
Within 30 minutes, that dance floor was completely full and they stayed there till the very end. So that really just shows you the power of drum and bass. A lot of people, they don't actually know whether they like it or not until they hear it and they're like, yo, this is sick. Like they didn't want to leave.
yeah,
Uh, which is, it's really sad that it's that sort of Brisbane's got to that stage. But this is an appeal to, anybody watching this, whether it's the big artists that are coming through all the way down to the local events. We all need your support to buy tickets, keep the ecosystem moving, and give more DJs opportunities to play. Because if you stop buying
yeah,
tickets, then the events will stop and you'll just get the sort of one-off shows coming through. And we don't want that. And that's why, even though we're not there anymore in a physical sense, we're still trying to be prominent and we're releasing artists on our label from Brisbane, and we're hoping to actually start running events again in the near future in Brisbane under the Trigga Fingaz banner. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, it's important that we're all sort of fighting the same cause. We all have to come together as a collective and not, there's room for everybody to win in this scene, and it's not about fucking each other over and getting one up on each other. Like it might be beneficial in the short term, but there's no long-term vision in that because if that's the way you're going to play, eventually there's going to be no scene at all. So it's important that we're all sort of working together and working as a collective to push the scene as a whole, in my opinion anyway.
yeah. No, I completely agree. And as well as like the music, you meet so many people at these drum and bass events. I feel like drum and bass is one of the most supportive genres in the way of like you go to an event, you can go on your own, you'll meet new people. Like everyone's just there for the music, and I feel like it is so different to any other genre. Like the crowd is completely different. I've performed in nightclubs before where drum and bass isn't known, I guess, and the crowd is just completely different. The typical nightclub club crowd is not who you see at these drum and bass events. It's just a lot more wholesome, I think.
Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
just come and you'll meet new people, and it's great. It's yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brisbane, you've got this. We believe in you, man.
Yes, we're the drum and bass community.
Now obviously your DJ career is very successful right now, and you know, I think you're just going to keep going from strength to strength on the DJing side. Do you have any plans to get into production and making your own sound?
Thank you. Yes, I do. It's I am working on getting into production. It's just proving to be more difficult than I thought. So it's gonna take me some time, but the intentions are there and I am trying behind the scenes. I'm grafting away at it, but slowly but surely, eventually I will produce something of my own, whether it be a remix of a song or something original. So I will get there. I know I will. I think it's just going to take a bit of time.
Yeah, it's not the easiest thing to do. It takes a lot of practice and patience as well because it can be a very frustrating process. But I think once it finally clicks and you sort of know what you're doing and you feel confident, then it comes a lot more easier and it actually becomes a lot of fun when you're producing, I find anyway.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that part of it. I think I'm
I'm
just trying
excited
to,
too. I'm excited to hear what you cook up for us.
yeah, I'll get there. I know I will. I'm just trying to be kind to myself in the process because
Yeah,
it's tricky.
yeah. Now, Yasmin, if you could pick some career highlights, what would they be?
Um, hmm, okay. Definitely the No One But Us show where I supported, I think HeadX has been my favorite like performance to watch. So he's always been such like a big inspiration to me. And getting to support him on that lineup was amazing, as well as a little sound. She's just incredible. I actually performed before her and got to share the stage with her. So that was unreal. So that whole night was just, yeah, unmatched. That was probably one of my favorite gigs, as well as performing for Pitch Control as well. They always put on such good events. And as well as the Mackie G gig just recently, one of my up there moments would definitely be supporting Wilkinson. He's just another amazing DJ producer. Like he's just crazy. So that was unreal. But yeah, every time I'm on stage, every time I'm performing to people that love drum and bass is a highlight to me. So every single gig that I've performed, I love it. And yeah, so every gig ever is my highlight.
Yeah, it's the best feeling in the world being on stage. There's
It
nothing tops it. And
yeah,
being surrounded by your idols as well and watching what they do and just soaking up that information and just taking inspiration from them too. It's just the best thing in the world. Like I've learned so much just by watching people and being in the studio with them as well. Like it's just the best way to learn and take inspiration and put it towards your career too. Thank you so much, Yasmin, for joining us this month. Really appreciate your time, and it's always a pleasure catching up with you. Now, Yasmin's going to pick 10 songs for our weekly selections alongside mine and Ingazon's, so keep an eye out for those. And Yasmin's also put together a guest mix for us, and we're really excited to hear what she's cooked up for us. But yeah, thank you so much, Yasmin. If people don't follow you or anything like that, how can we find your content and get in touch if we need to?
Yeah, so my Instagram is just my name, but with two Y's. So YYASMIN.J. And yeah, all my socials are linked in my Instagram bio, so you can find me on every platform.
Wicked. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in, and we will see you next month. Big up.
guys.
I feel so lonely and lost if you